All right, let's talk about the most complex thing in the entire known universe. And, it happens to be right inside your head. We're talking about the brain. This 3-pound powerhouse is behind every single thing you think, feel, and do. So let's dive right in.
And you know what? That's not an exaggeration at all. I mean, think about it. Every single memory, every feeling, every wild dream you've ever had, it all originates from this one incredible organ. It's literally the core of who you are.
For the longest time, the brain was basically a total black box. I mean, it's just sitting there, hidden inside our skulls, this 3-pound universe that was a complete and utter mystery. But now, well, thanks to some absolutely amazing scientific breakthroughs, we're finally starting to peel back the layers and unlock its secrets.
So, the big question is, how does this thing actually work? To figure that out, we're going to go on a little tour. We'll start big, looking at the major structures. And then we're going to zoom all the way down to the tiny, microscopic conversations that are happening inside your head right now.
Okay, first up, let's look at the big picture. You can think of it as the brain's grand architectural plan. So a good way to think about it is that your brain has 3 main divisions. You've got the hindbrain, that's kind of like your life support system. It's handling all the basics, breathing, your heartbeat, stuff you don't even think about. Then there's the midbrain, which acts like a busy switchboard, routing all the sensory info. And then there's the forebrain. It's the biggest part, and honestly, it's where all the magic happens. This is the home of your conscious thoughts. Now, that forebrain's main component, the cerebrum, is actually split right down the middle into 2 hemispheres. The left side, that's usually the language whiz. The right side is more of a master of abstract thinking. But here's the really wild part. They control the opposite sides of your body. No joke. So when you wave with your right hand, it's actually your left brain that's calling the shots. Kind of cool, right? All right, let's zoom in a little closer on that cerebrum. We're going to explore its specialized neighborhoods, which are called lobes. And trust me, each one has a very, very specific job to do. Okay, so right behind your forehead, you've got the frontal lobes. Think of these as your personal CEO or your executive planners. Anytime you make a schedule, try to reason through a tough problem, or just imagine what you're going to do next week, yeah, that's this part of the brain doing all the heavy lifting. It's also in charge of all your voluntary movements. All right, next up we have the parietal lobes. These are your sensory interpreters. They're processing all those sensations like temperature, taste, and touch. They also get involved in really important skills like reading and even doing a bit of math. Now, way at the back of your head, you'll find the occipital lobes. I like to think of these as your brain's personal visual effects studio. They take everything your eyes see, process all those images, and then, and this is key, they link them to your memories. It's how you can spot a friend's face in a super crowded room. And last but not least, kind of tucked in under the other lobes, are the temporal lobes. These are the main hubs for sound. They process everything from someone talking to you to your favorite song. And this is super important. They also play a vital role in both forming and retrieving your memories. So check this out. The entire surface of all these lobes we just talked about, it's covered in this thin, super folded layer of tissue. You've probably heard of it. It's the cerebral cortex, or gray matter. And all those wrinkles and folds, they're not random. It's actually a brilliant design feature. It massively increases the surface area, which means you can pack way more processing power into the same space. Okay, we've seen the big structures. Now it's time to go even deeper. Let's meet the brain's most important cells. And this is the key question, really, because when we answer this, we're getting to the fundamental building block of, well, everything you think and do. It's all about neurons. These are the rock stars, the primary functional cells of your entire nervous system. Every single sensation, every movement, every thought, every memory, it's all the result of signals firing and passing through these incredible little cells. So each neuron has a few key parts, kind of like a little communication device. You've got the dendrites, which act like antennas, catching messages coming in. The cell body is the command center that processes it all. Then the axon is the transmitter. It sends the signal on its way to the next cell. And to make things even more efficient, many of these axons are wrapped in something called a myelin sheath. It's basically a fatty insulator that helps those signals travel way faster and farther. Okay, so we've got billions of these neurons, right? But how do they actually talk to each other? That's the next piece of the puzzle. To find out, we need to zoom in even further, to the exact point where they connect. Here's the thing, they don't actually touch. There's this tiny, tiny little gap between them called a synapse. So when an electrical signal travels down one neuron and reaches the end of its axon, it's got to figure out a way to jump across that gap to pass the message along to the next one. So how does it make that leap? It uses chemical messengers. We call them neurotransmitters. You've probably heard of some of them. Dopamine, for example, is a huge player in your mood and movement. And when there's a shortage, that can lead to disorders like Parkinson's. Serotonin helps you regulate your sleep. Acetylcholine is absolutely vital for memory. It's this incredibly complex chemical symphony that's the foundation for literally everything your brain does. So, okay, we've gone from the grand tour of the brain's lobes all the way down to the chemical conversations between neurons. But why does any of this matter? What's the takeaway here? It matters because understanding the basics of how a healthy brain works is the absolute first step to figuring out what goes wrong in neurological disorders like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or epilepsy. All this fundamental knowledge, which is supported by research from places like the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, is exactly what allows scientists to develop new and truly life-changing treatments. You know, at the end of the day, the brain really is the source of our humanity. And every new discovery we make is like finding another piece of the puzzle of who we are. As we keep exploring this incredible inner universe, maybe the biggest discoveries won't just be about neurons and lobes, but about what it actually means to be human.